Welcome into the final episode of Talkin Ducks this season. We put a bow on spring football. We look at the game and let you know what stood out to us. Also, we catch up with Coach Locklyn, the running backs coach for Oregon, get his thoughts on the depth of that position, and also what Oregon sells to both transfers and recruits as they continue to reload. Then last, we'll revisit what questions still remain for the Ducks and give our predictions for next year already, something that we can go revisit and either applaud or laugh at. But let's go ahead and get to our opening drive, brought to you by Les Schwab Tire Centers, where they've been doing the right thing since 1952. And on this swan song, we have Aaron Fentress from the Oregonian, and of course, Hall of Fame defensive back for the Ducks, Anthony Newman, who continues to just fight through father time and is just chiseled and in shape. Anthony, how's the rehab going, by the way, of the Achilles, my friend?
The rehab is going very well. I'm running. I think maybe next week or maybe 2 weeks, I can start working on press coverage against 5th and 6th graders again. See.
So Aaron's talent level.
Hey. Wait. Newman injured his Achilles when I ran a post corner on him. What are you talking about?
Well, guys, we had a chance to do the spring game. I was lucky enough to call it up in the booth. And for the most part, a pretty clean game. No turnovers by either side. We saw both Bo Nix and Ty Thompson take the lion's share of the snaps. We saw some explosive plays. And, let's start with that. And let's start with the quarterbacks here, Aaron. You look at Bo and how polished he was coming back. And also Ty, who started to get into a rhythm. What was your takeaway from that position group from the spring game?
Bo, I wasn't worried about. Bo's Bo. We all know Bo could throw 6 interceptions in the spring game, and I would just not even think much about it. I wanted to see what Ty did early on. Ty looked a little shaky. There's some things he did. I didn't feel like I was seeing what I needed to see, but he started putting up numbers later. Now, 16 of 34, not good, but 276, a couple touchdowns. You got to like that, especially last season. He was, 12 for 27 with 2 picks last year, only 168 yards, 1 touchdown. So definitely some statistical improvement game to game. What do you take out of a spring game? It's kind of hard to tell, but at least you saw something better from Ty than what we saw last spring. And I think we can consider that to be at least progress.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I think, it's hard to grade the spring game. I mean, because you want both sides to do well.
Right.
And when one side is struggling, you're like, uh-oh, that's a problem. Maybe not. Maybe because the other side is really good. You don't know. Ty Thompson, he didn't wow me, but he looked solid. I guess if you're labeled a 5-star, a 5-star guy is supposed to wow you at times, and that's the label. That's the sad thing about it. But he looked solid. He just, spring game, it's hard to judge realistically. I mean, because he really can't run and be hit. And so, I think the defense is kind of very vanilla. They're not doing a whole lot. You're not going to, the team's not going to show a whole lot for people to watch and get a hold of what they're trying to do on defense. So he did okay. He did fine.
The thing about Ty,
it was interesting. Go ahead, Aaron.
The thing about Ty is we know he has a strong arm. Like we know that's what he has, but we haven't really seen touch or him making anticipation throws or proper reads too often, which is one of the reasons why they got a transfer and another reason why they didn't let him throw that much last year. But it was a really nice play. The touchdown to Hudson down the middle. I mean, that was one he threw almost completely off his back foot. You're kind of anticipating the coverage. So you're pre-reading that. You know your guy's going to go to seam down the middle and probably have a wide open space. You just got to lay it out there for your guy to go get it. And that was a beautiful throw. I mean, that was gorgeous, right into Hudson's hands for the touchdown. So that's the kind of thing I kind of wanted to see. It's easy to throw, like the other touchdown to Tez, he throws it 6 yards, a 6-yard curl, or 6-yard hits basically. Yeah. And then Tez does the rest. I can't give Ty credit for that because I could have made that throw. But that touchdown to Hudson was beautiful.
We'll put you in the pads to see.
I think that throw all day. It's easy. Come on,
please.
Now, I will say this, and this is something I noticed while calling the game here too, Anthony. The best that Ty Thompson looked, and I agree. I think if you're looking at what do you want from your backup quarterback, I thought it looked honestly very good as far as, okay, if he needs to come in for a half, or if this is a guy that needs to step in and Oregon needs to win a game against a Colorado or a Cal because it's just one of those games you'd love to rest Bo Nix for. Hey, I think you feel pretty good. It was interesting, Anthony, because I thought he looked his sharpest during the 2-minute drill to close out the first half. And you know how some quarterbacks, when you kind of shrink that playbook and just make things instinctual and quick and you make the first read rather than opening up so many different options, to me, that's when he looked the best.
He should look that way because he's not a freshman. He's not a
going to
young
his
kid
third
anymore.
year.
Yeah, he's been not in the same system, and that's why I feel bad for him because it's not the same system. But
They're a different coordinator, if you think about that.
Yeah, third difference coordinator, third spring. Yep.
And different receivers at times. And so that, Jordan, that looked great. It really did. And so if Bo got hurt and Ty would be the man, you have confidence in Ty. As time goes on, he's going to get better. And he may look like that 5-star quarterback, but he needs more reps, no doubt about it. And again, he didn't wow anybody, but he looked solid. And again, that's what you want in a backup. Okay, he looks solid. I feel comfortable. If Bo got hurt, he can go in and move the football down the field.
Look, here's the bottom line. The first game of the season is Portland State. That game should be over by mid-second quarter, which means Ty should get in, probably start the second half maybe, and then let Ty play football. I don't want to see swings. I don't want to see screens. I don't want to see hitches with a corner over the top, the smash concept. I want to see some actual down the field digs, comebacks, some serious throws from him to show the fan base that you trust him to actually play football at the Pac-12 level so everyone can relax and go, okay, at least we have a backup and maybe the starter of 2024. But if you're blowing out Portland State and you go out there and he hands the ball off 35 times and throws the passes I just talked about, then you learn nothing. And that's what we've seen in the past too much when Ty's been in the game.
That's a good point. You also have an opportunity against Hawaii 2 weeks later if you want to see some more Ty Thompson. Now, real quick, Anthony, I want to go to the defense because, again, it's hard to take much away from the line play in spring football. The offensive line is a mix of ones and twos, same with the defensive line. But you didn't see any explosive run plays, and either that's a knock on the offense or on this Oregon defense that struggled to stop the run to close out the season against Oregon State. That's a good sign that you didn't have any big assignment errors and give up some monstrous run. What did you take away from the defense real quickly?
The defense is getting better. You know how I always say that. I always say that. But no, really, when you look at the defensive line, you know, as a whole, they played well together. No one really stood out. You know, they're not going to sack the quarterback, but every time the quarterback was in the pocket, that pocket got smaller and smaller as you start counting 1001, 1002, that pocket's getting smaller. They did a great job doing that, collapsing the pocket. The second thing, there was no explosion plays. Now, maybe the running back at times got to the second.
Through the air there were.
Okay.
No, I'm talking about running the ball.
Okay.
I'm talking about
none running the ball.
No, I'm talking about running the ball. Excuse me, running the football. There was no big explosion plays. Now, the running backs got to the second level, and that's where the linebackers made the plays and the safeties come up and make a tackle. But defensive linemen are getting off blocks, making tackles, or getting off blocks, and then the running backs have to avoid them, and then there's a linebacker there to make the tackle. So they look good, and I think it was the whole group. It wasn't like one guy that stood out. And Aaron, you might saw somebody making more plays than others, but I didn't see a superstar stand out. I didn't see, like a superstars, Jordan Birch has to stand out. Dorless has to stand out. I didn't really see that, but as a whole, they played well together.
Hey, Jordan, you want to see me make Newman mad?
Go ahead.
Newman, the Oregon's defense gave up 43 points and over 600 yards of offense on Saturday. So I don't know what you're talking about.
You can't sack the quarterback. You can't sack the quarterback.
We got a lot more to get to on Talkin Ducks when we come back.
I'm just kidding.
When we come back, Coach Locklyn's going to join us for a couple of segments, and we'll learn more about why this running back position has been so deep at Oregon and his philosophy on helping these young men become not only better players, but better men. Stick around. Plenty more Talkin Ducks when we come back. Talkin Ducks is brought to you by Par Lumber. Welcome back to Talkin Ducks. Time now for some excellence on the field, brought to you by Ferguson Wellman. Ferguson Wellman, bringing a disciplined approach to investing. And we are honored to be joined by the running back coach for the Ducks, Coach Locklyn. Great to have you here joining us. As always, my friend, I know you're getting ready to head out on the road to go recruit, but let's put a bow on spring ball here so far and just tell us, what did you recognize the most, or where did you feel like your running backs grew the most during this spring as you guys get set to take some time off before fall camp?
One of the things is always, I think the ball security aspect of being a back was pretty good by the running backs. I don't think we had one that we put on the ground at all this spring. And the next thing will be the understanding of where they fit at in pass pro and in the run game and different run concepts, especially with the top three guys who are coming back. I thought I saw growth with those three in that area.
Coach, everyone knows Bucky and Noah are your 1 and 2, but what's going on beneath them on the depth chart? Who are some of the young guys that showed out this spring and impressed you?
Jordan James. Jordan James could very well be one of the most talented backs in the room. Young man has size, speed. He has elite short area burst. Very, very good contact balance. But I think his overall knowledge of the game from his freshman year to now, and being behind those two guys and competing with them and learning from them has helped them in tremendous ways. Dante Dardell has impressed me. Like I said, obviously he's the biggest back in the room. And it has been somewhat of a learning curve for him with his coming from the offense he came from in high school, which was more old traditional I formation. Sometimes he had his hand in the dirt. He had a really good spring, improving, learning what it is to be a running back, a collegiate running back. And then I'm excited about him, and I'm excited about Jay Lamar as well. Jay Lamar very well may be the second fastest back in the room behind Noah. But he's explosive. He's a multifaceted back, just like Noah and Bucky. He's able to line up in the slot, catch the ball. Him and Dante have different skill sets, but I'm excited about the two young guys. I'm excited about the future with both of them.
We had a discussion, I think it was last week on the show, about whether or not Bucky should start getting more carries as a true featured back. And I know if Anthony Newman were here, he'd want to ask this question because he thinks Bucky should get more carries. I think you should just keep it balanced, pretty much like it was last year. What is your plan, or do you have one yet?
Yeah, I say this because people find out I don't have no filter. While I'm here, and you think about this, I kind of pattern my coaching style after a lot of men that I respect, Coach Campbell being one of them. Oregon has always had great backs. They always had two guys in that room, and they fed off one another. I'm going to do what's best for the room. Obviously, it's Coach Laney's team, but that room in there, Coach, he placed a lot of faith in me to run that room. I'm going to do whatever it takes for us to win games and what's best for the room. If that's giving Bucky the ball more, we'll do that. I believe that Bucky and Noah's skill set, they help one another. And giving him the ball a ton of times and hurting him, throughout the course of a season, I don't really view that as being positive. But we live in a selfish microwave society, so people want what they want. But like I said, in that room, I call it the oven. I'm the chef. I'm cooking there. I don't go ask nobody for no recipe to tell me what to cook. I was in a room at Memphis that had 5 guys in there. Darrell Henderson, all right, Patrick Taylor, Tony Pollard, Tonio Gibson, and Kenny Gainwell. 5 guys in there. And they all trust the process, and it ended out very well for them. So I believe in the recipe. So I think that both of those guys being able to share the ball, and they can touch the ball other ways because they will be involved in returning kicks this year. So they have other ways that they'll touch the ball, catching the ball in the backfield. But I think that keeping it balanced between those two and incorporating Jordan James is the best recipe for the Ducks to have a successful season.
Coach, I'm curious. One of the big questions for this team coming into this season is the offensive line. You lost 4 starters from last year. A lot of experience around you, but it's a unit that's playing together for the first time. What have you seen from the offensive line? You guys obviously have a unique vantage point from where you guys are at as a position group. What do you see with the line so far this year?
I think they're extremely athletic. You got guys up there who can run. I think it's going to be a good group. It's kind of hard to see in the spring game because you had them split. But I think once it comes together, Coach Terry, Coach Cav, Coach Cutter, those guys work the O-line. And I think the O-line is going to be fine. I'm not worried at all. But like I tell my backs all the time, great running backs don't need nothing but a couple inches a day. Like if you hit the hole and attack it, as I say, run in the burning house and go save the kids. If you hit it, and you don't need to stay on the block for that long for good running backs. So I think we'll be fine because I really think I got a really good room.
Coach, you mentioned the running backs room is the oven. You're the chef. I saw a quote recently. You've probably used it numerous times where you said, "You don't bake no soft batch cookies." Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
I mean, and I've been hit up about that about I don't coach soft batch cookies and what I said about the portal being the bakery. Every kid's situation is different. I'm not saying that every kid that goes in the portal is a soft batch cookie. Some kid goes in the portal because they're looking for opportunity other places. Um, just for me with my kids, I let them know if you come to Oregon, you play running back. Same thing I would tell 24s, 25, 26, 27, however long God has me here. I'm going to go out and get the best backs in the country. Why? Because that's what Oregon was built off of. They always had a rich tradition of running backs. And if you're scared to compete, don't come in my room. Because this is what Coach Campbell, the from 1981 to 2000, 15, 16, 30 34 years he was here. Look at those backs in the room and allow them to overlap and play with each other. Well, that's the standard. I'm not going to deviate from that. In the past year, the guys that came after Coach Campbell, it's been different. Well, I charged myself with, what, Coach Campbell, I admire you and look up to you so much. I need to get this room back to that standard. And we're going to have backs here. You're going to compete. If you come here, like I said, don't be soft in your feelings. You better be ready to compete because we're going to have backs here at Oregon.
All right, don't go anywhere. We'll have more with Coach Locklyn when we come back on Talkin Ducks. Talkin Ducks is brought to you by Par Lumber. Welcome back to Talkin Ducks. Let's go ahead and sit down with Coach Locklyn a little bit longer and learn more about what he sees in this team and this running back group that has so much depth.
You mentioned that things are a little different after Campbell left. The top running back at Oregon during the years after Campbell and that staff were fired was recruited by Campbell, and that was C.J. Verdell. He was the number one back until last year when you guys brought in some guys in the transfer portal. Speaking of the portal, you guys have done an amazing job as a staff in terms of bringing guys in like Bo Nix and, of course, a bunch of others to fill in specific holes. And it looks like you guys have done that again this time with guys like Birch and Holden and Tez. Can you talk about how the staff goes about not only identifying the talent, but like you say, identifying guys who want to come in and work hard to be the perfect fit when they come to Oregon?
I mean, everything starts at top with your head coach. Coach Laney places, he got the right guys he wanted together to build this program, coaches and players, and everything starts with him. And he's the leader. He lays out the mindset of what type of kids we want. We want tough-minded, smart football players, and guys who have true passion about playing the game of football. So we have hit on a lot of kids, but Coach Laney has identified the kids that he wants within the program just as well. He identifies the coaches he wants within the program. So it's like old school football. I love the fact that I get to work for a defensive minded guy. Defensive minded guy like him, he's a great defensive mind. But I know one thing he's gonna want to do. That's run the football. Well, it takes running backs to if you get that done. So he allows me to go out and scout and identify the backs that we want, we need, and he trusts me. So like I said, it's good work for a defensive-minded coach, a great defensive-minded coach like Coach Laney.
And when you go to recruit here, Coach, we were talking about this during the game broadcast. It feels like gone are the days where Oregon was cutting edge with the uniforms, the facilities. It feels like everybody's caught up with the bells and whistles that can sell kids on stuff. What do you guys say to these kids to convince them to come and be a Duck over these other programs now that the playing field has been pretty much leveled with everybody in this arms race, with facilities, with uniforms, with NIL? What are you selling players and kids on as far as coming to Oregon and making that decision?
That's the one thing, Joy. I ain't selling nothing. I tell kids and I tell their parents. And if you ever get a chance to meet some of the kids' parents that I have a chance to build a relationship with, I hate to use the word recruit, and I always say build relationships. I tell the parents when I talk to them, your son come here, he's in my room, I'm going to put my foot in him every day. I'm going to challenge him as a man. I'm going to challenge him as a football player, because if the only thing he learned from me is how to run counter, power, and how to pass block, well, I don't fail him, I don't fail you, and I fail myself. So the same talk that I'm talking now, parents would tell you now, this guy tell me, he tell my son, hey, I'm going to humble you. I'm going to challenge you every day. I'm not a car salesman. That's why I don't use, like, I may not never be an elite recruiter, but I'm an elite relationship builder. So I'm not selling anything. What you see is what you're going to get. So you're not going to be thrown off when you get here. You know what you're going to get. I'm going to come at you every day. So that's why I tell the parents. And some parents, they like that because I'm pouring into the young man, because the ball, as we know, Jordan, the ball going to go flat one day. But the things that the coaches teach you, you better embrace and hold on for the rest of your life to help you throughout your life.
You mentioned Campbell already. You went about sort of giving him some props last year on social media, and you talked to him. What prompted that from you? And did you have a prior relationship with Coach Campbell before you came to Oregon?
No, I didn't. It's just me being still consider myself a running back, knowing the history of backs here at this school. Every school I've been at, I've done that. I had close relationship with every running back. And when I was at Florida State, I developed a relationship with Warwick Dunn, developed a relationship with other backs who played there at that university. At Memphis, I developed a relationship with D'Angelo Williams, other guys who played there. It's just important to me to reach back for the guys to know that when they come in the room, all right, these guys, they laid the groundwork for you to have the success that you have now. The benefits that you are able to reap now, these guys were the guys that started it all. So it was important for me to know the history of the school, the backs of the room. So that's something that I'm going to always do.
And does that help to let the younger guys know that, hey, you may think you're great, but you need to reach the standards of LaMichael James, Kenyon Barner, Jonathan Stewart, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the standard I'm going to hold you to, because that's a standard that one of my predecessors held his backs to.
Yeah, there's always, but you go back further than that. David Lavelle, Saladin, Dino, Terrence Whitehead. The list goes on. The list. Ruben Drones, who somebody I got a tremendous amount of respect for. LeGarrette. It goes on and on. If you go back and look at the backs that have been through here, Jonathan Stewart, Jeremiah Johnson, Ontario Smith.
Maurice Morris.
Like, wow.
It's ridiculous.
Maurice Morris, Mo Morris. I'm talking about, it's been a lot of guys that came through that room that are really, really, really good backs. Ricky Whittle, I don't want to leave him out. A lot of good backs. I got a tremendous amount of respect for the guys that came here in this program. And while I'm here, as long as God has me here, I'm going to go out and get the best backs, not the best back just 24/7 and Rivals has, but I'm going to go get the best back that these eyes see, and I'm going to develop them and train them to be great Ducks.
All right, Coach, appreciate it. Thanks again for joining us. Make sure you stick around when we come back. We'll have more Talkin Ducks after the break. Talkin Ducks is brought to you by Par Lumber. Welcome back to Talkin Ducks. We just had a great conversation with Coach Locklyn there for a couple of segments. And Anthony, you got a chance to listen in on that, and you hear what he has to say about Bucky Irving. And starting at the depth at this running back position, what did you take about his comments of, hey, they got to feed Bucky some more, that they're going to put the best guy out there to help this team win, and that's what he's all about? What did you take away from his comments there?
Well, certain coaches get lucky. He's a lucky one because he's got 3 good running backs that can play. He really does. And they're all, they're all about the same size. It's not like there's one that's real big like a LeGarrette Blount or something like that. They're all in that, 5'10" range, but very powerful. They bounce off tackles. They can catch the ball out of the backfield. They can run in that short yardage. So this group is nice to have. I don't know how do you pick who's starting or who's getting more playing time or who's the guy that needs to keep playing because he's hot. If you want to use your guys, and also it helps you stay healthy because it's a long season, you have to have that rotation. And if you can rotate at least the first 2 guys, that's going to be pretty strong to deal with as a defense you're always going against a different back, and it changes as a defense. If I'm trying to tackle a guy that I'm used to, all of a sudden now there's a new guy in here and he runs different, that's going to change my approach on how I try to tackle this guy. So, coach is lucky to have, seriously, 3 good running backs on their team.
Mm-hmm. And Aaron, do you agree that Bucky should be the guy, or how much would you kind of balance out the carries when you look at how effective Bucky could be? But also we know that Noah Whittington has undergone some major improvements and has just gotten a lot bigger and stronger this offseason too.
I think it's going to be based on feel and based on game to game and based on how Coach Locklyn sees the 2 players continue to develop. I think at the end of the day, if you have a 1A, 1B, I think that's what you want because you're keeping guys fresh. There's really no point in giving someone 35 carries unless you're basically saying you don't have a guy close to him. And I think clearly Noah is close to Bucky. Bucky may be better, but he's not so much better to where you want to be a 70-30 or 80-20 split. And Coach Locklyn talked about, they both bring a little bit different elements to the field. So there's certain plays or certain situations where one might be a little bit better, or if you balance in fatigue, who you might want to go to in certain situations. Now, we saw LaMichael and Kenyon in a situation where you had a 1A and a 1B, but it was clearly 1A was the king because he contended for the Heisman, and the next year he rushed for a bunch of yards, and it was probably a 70-30, 80-20 split. But we've also seen situations where that was a lot tighter, even with Jonathan Stewart and Jeremiah Johnson. And some of that came down to the different styles of that the players brought. In a lot of ways, Kenyon and LaMichael were pretty similar. Whereas if you have guys who are a little bit different, that might make you use one guy in a little different way than another guy. But I think whatever Locklyn feels they should do is what they should do. I think he's already proven that he knows what he's doing. And the fact that James is emerging, and Locklyn talked about that, shows they got a third guy. He might get in the mix and make it more like a 50-40-10. Who knows?
But I got a question, though, for you.
Wait, is that the right math? 50-40, 10 carries?
No, but here's the thing about it. What's the magic number when you talk about carries, per game? Because if Bucky Irving, he can handle maybe 20 carries per game, but he's getting 11, and then Noah's getting, 10. I mean, it's like, no, I need to feed this guy more. This guy can run the football 20 times a game. Not 35. I get that. Not 40 where he's getting beat up, but he can run it more than 10 carries per game. And I got to give it to him. And sometimes that's a problem because in this game, today's game, you don't run as much. You're throwing the football more. So it's hard to, man, he's in a tough situation, Coach Locklyn, but he's in a good situation.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because, again, you've got a lot of talent there. How much do you run Bo Nix this season? Do you run him just as much as you did last year? Or will his carries go down a little bit, leaving some more opportunity for
He got too many goal line carries and stole touchdowns from the backs. I don't like that. Quarterback should be running from 1-2 yards out. That's cheap. Give those touchdowns to the back.
He's untouched.
Hey, the defense can't account for him, though, Aaron.
Come on, man. If we got Noah and Bucky on here, they'd be like, man, that was garbage. He kept taking all the touchdowns. He had 14 rushing touchdowns, and Bucky and Whittington, each had 10 combined. That's wrong.
Hey. Just get that dub. All right, let's look at the receiver position. And Aaron, a lot of talent at receiver for the Ducks. Franklin and Hudson look like their normal selves. In fact, it looks like they're ready to take another leap each this season. But then we got a chance to take a look at a couple of the transfers, Holden and Johnson, and Tez Johnson especially. Listening to this coaching staff and our conversations we had with them before calling this game, every single coach that we talked to raved about Tez and what he brings to the table as far as his speed and playmaking. We saw that with that 6-yard catch that he turned into a 56-yard touchdown. What was your takeaway from the receivers and the depth that Oregon flashed in this spring game?
Yeah, that's something that I was paying attention to. I wanted to see how those guys looked, and they looked good. And Tez, that touchdown that Tez scored on, that's the kind of dude you want to have in your receiving corps, someone who can take the short pass to the house. And I don't know if they really had that last year. As a matter of fact, they didn't. And now you've got that. Someone like Charles Nelson was, or even like D'Anthony Thomas was, who you can throw them the short 5-yard hitch or just a slant or a flat route, and boom, they can wreak havoc in the secondary. So I love seeing that from him. Holden showed obviously more size and still showed a big burst too. He didn't get a chance to really flaunt it with a big play necessarily, but you could see the suddenness that he brought. Clearly the type of guy you would expect Alabama to recruit. So adding those two to Hudson and Franklin, great job, coaching staff. Like, this is going to be a quartet that's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, Anthony, and it begs the question, is this the deepest collection of running backs and receivers that Oregon has had in recent memory? Because that was one of the questions a couple of years ago. Where's the talent, the depth at the skill positions? But now it just seems like they're oozing with it coming into this season.
Well, it all depends on what they do. And, you can have a group of guys that say, hey, these guys are going to be good, but you have to play and you have to produce. You have to have production. So maybe during midseason, ask me that question: is this the best group of guys? Because seriously, these guys.
It's our job to speculate
but
right
these,
now. It's May. That's
all we have.
But these guys are dangerous. And Aaron said it: when you add Johnson and you add Holden to this mix. And Tex Johnson, I talked to him. I talked about him a few weeks ago, and I watched him in practice. Number 15 can run. He can go, and he's step brother of Bo Nix.
Adopted brother.
Adopted brother.
Yeah.
This kid
even closer, even more teardrop.
Really, he can go. So that. Also, let's talk about the Oregon kid, the kid from Lake Oswego, Justice Lowe. He looked pretty good. I was watching him
a couple of times.
He's very explosive. So now you add another young guy that you got as a scholarship guy, meaning that you got as a high school recruit, and watch him develop with these older guys. This is a very good group of receivers.
All right. Well, either way, it should be pretty fun. Whether we speculate or wait until 6 games in, you get the sense there's a lot of talent in those rooms. All right, don't go anywhere. When we come back, there are still questions to be answered about this Oregon team. They weren't all solved or answered during spring ball. We'll let you know what still lingers when we come back on Talkin Ducks. And no, it's not the smell of Aaron Fentress.
Wow.
Talkin Ducks is brought to you by Par Lumber. Welcome back. Time now for What's Cooking, brought to you by Sam's Northwest BBQ, located just southwest of Portland and Sherwood. Your home for Yoder smoker products and so much more. Sam's Northwest BBQ. All right, obviously a lot of excitement around Bo Nix, Ty Thompson, the receivers, the running backs, but there are still some questions with this Oregon team. And, you can't figure everything out in the spring here, Anthony. And as you look at the position groups, there's some questions, and let's just rattle some of them off, and you let me know which one really stands out to you. The O-line, what does that look like? You're going to have to replace 4 starters. Linebackers, they had 5 linebackers transfer out. What is the depth looking like at that position? And then tight end, you've got Ferguson that was out with an injury. The next man up, Herbert, only had 1 catch last season because of 2 other transfers. So you look at this team, what's the biggest question that still remains, in your opinion?
Well, I think, for me, I'm a defensive guy.
Or it could be something I didn't mention because you know more about football than I do.
No, I'm looking at the defense. I'm looking at the linebacker crew. But I like what I see with 2 guys. But after that, there's 3 guys. Really 3 guys. You got Mace Funa, that's an outside linebacker, but he could be an edge rusher, okay? He should be a superstar. He needs to stand out, okay? And he does. But then you have Jeffrey Bossa, who's a dude in the middle, okay? Now, Jeffrey Bossa was an ex-safety that moved to outside linebacker, now is playing inside linebacker. Then you have Jamal Hill, who was playing safety, and they moved him to inside linebacker, not even outside, to inside linebacker. But let me tell you this, these guys were flying sideline to sideline. It's hard to block Jamal Hill at the middle linebacker spot because he can run. And this game has changed because the game is not 2 backs, power like Stanford, power I, let's doing the counter, let's run the power, let's run the ISO. Jamal Hill's not taking on fullbacks anymore. He's getting off the blocks. He's making linemen come to him. Okay, now you talk about space and try to block him in space. Linemen don't like blocking in space. They want to block in a phone booth. So now you're chasing these little fast linebackers trying to block him. So it creates a fast defense. But after those guys, who are they? Who's backing up those guys at the linebacker spot? And I think that's the question.
And that is a big question, Aaron. Do you agree, linebacker, the biggest question mark on this Oregon team?
Well, yeah, because that was a question mark last season. You lost some guys, so yeah, it's going to be a question mark. It's going to be a question mark this season. They did add some players, so that should help. But, for me, it's going to be the entire defense until I see something different. We've seen 2 mediocre defenses the last 2 seasons. Spring game, almost impossible to tell because even on run plays, like they're not going full out because they're your own guys and you're not trying to hurt your own guys. So I walked away from the spring game just kind of thinking, well, really hard to learn much about the defense. Now, the defensive side against Bo Nix held Bo Nix to a relatively mediocre day, considering the fact that he has all the advantages. So is that a sign? I don't know. It's hard to tell. But I want to see it in the regular season. And we'll get a taste of it. Texas Tech is not going to be any joke, and Hawaii usually has good offenses. So we'll probably know early on where this defense is headed.
Yeah, and I look at the offensive line combined with the tight ends just because the guys you lost last year, not only were they talented, but they'd played thousands of snaps together. And now you're bringing in some talented guys, but 2 transfers, some underclassmen that are now stepping up, and maybe guys that are stepping to different positions. And a big reason why Oregon was so successful last year was keeping Bo Nix upright.
Yeah.
He went the majority of the year without even getting sacked once. And that's when Oregon won 8 straight games and really separated themselves during that time. As soon as Bo started to feel pressure from the Washington game on, that's when Oregon went 3-2 over their last 5 games. And so can this offensive line be as good as last year? I don't know, but they need to be at a comparable level if Oregon wants to at least be nearly as efficient as they were last year, because I think they were the unsung heroes of that team's success on that side of the ball. And that's why you loop in the tight end position. It's not just the pass catching ability, as you know, Anthony and Aaron. It's bringing that extra tight end to block on some of those schemes. Having an extra body in there that helps you go heavy sometimes with your personnel. And I think those are going to be some questions that need to be solved pretty quickly in that opening game against Portland State during fall camp. And we'll get a taste here pretty soon, especially against Texas Tech on the road. What can this offensive line do on the road against a Big 12 opponent? It's going to be fascinating. But either way, that's why they play the game. You're going to solve some of these questions. That's why these coaches go to work. The transfer portal still isn't closed. You might pick up a couple of guys here or there still, but it will be fascinating. Yes.
But okay, so think about this. You're talking about the underclassmen. And I think that's what's getting lost in today's game, because everything right now is to talk about transfers, who's coming in to play these certain positions. And then we forget about, okay, we went and got recruited 18 kids, okay, from high school. And these kids were 3 stars, 4-star guys, maybe a 5-star guy. What's happening to those guys? Are they getting developed? And there's one guy that I saw on the offensive line. We talked about the 2 transfers. Oh, that's going to help us. But there's a guy that was recruited by Oregon. He's from Seattle, Josh Connolly Jr. He's a stud. Number 76 can play. He's an offensive guard. He can play the offensive tackle. I think he can play anywhere on the line. Those are the guys that you want to see step up and start being that dude, that guy that's the superstar, the rock that's in that position group. I think we're relying on too many transfers coming in and not developing our guys who we recruited and see if they get better. And so it's a tough situation for the schools because you lose so many guys. Because if you're a young guy who got recruited and all of a sudden you don't start, you take it off. Like, I'm gone. I'm out of here. You don't compete anymore. So I think that's we're losing that part of the game. And then we're talking about the transfers helping us. But let's look at the guys who we recruited. Justice Lowe as receiver, a recruiting guy, a guy that was recruited from Oregon. Josh and other guys that are Mace Funa. Mace Funa on defense needs to step up and be that superstar. He was a star in high school at Mater Dei. He's got to be the star here at Oregon as a senior, as a defensive edge rusher. He's got to be that rock in the defense.
The other problem, one thing to add to that is that coaches are under so much pressure to win that they can't always take the time to develop guys. They're going to go get guys now from other programs. So players are being developed. They're just being developed to play for other teams later down the line.
That's a good
and
point.
You don't, no one's going to, if Lanning couldn't go out last year and get Bo Nix, right? Let's just take that. And he had to go with Ty. And Ty struggled, and they went 6-6, 7-5. Would people say, oh, well, they're developing a quarterback and they're developing young receivers? No. People say Lanning sucks. He's got to go. Right? That's just how it is. We saw it with the staff you guys play for. They had one bad season. They all got to go, even though the team was very, very young. So there's no time for that. You have to win now, and that means you're going to go out and get other dudes now to help you win immediately so you can continue to improve your resume for the next job, and you can keep your current fan base and your current boss happy.
Yeah, very true. All right, when we come back, we'll wrap up this season of Talkin Ducks with some of our highlights. Don't go anywhere. Talkin Ducks is brought to you by Par Lumber. Time now for our legendary moment, brought to you by Abby's Legendary Pizza. I can't be giving you guys softball questions
Okay,
all the time,
hold on.
right?
Jordan, hold on.
You had a great season, but here's your flaws.
They didn't do anything.
I dislocated my pinky.
And now all of a sudden it's just mass chaos.
But did they stop anybody?
He is working on his pocket awareness, his short accuracy,
The kid is a beast.
his running ability, how he puts his chin strap on.
Are you kidding me?
That's just because he has a brain that actually fills that big head.
Put a square peg into a round hole.
That's worth 2 wins.
Keys to a Ferrari.
But can it stop anybody, honey?
Yeah, that hurts my heart when I got talking bad about the defense.
That's out of the way. And Newman's laughing because he knows it's true.
Well, those are just some of the highlights of our second season of Talkin Ducks. We appreciate you joining us. And, guys, what was the highlight for you? Because we went all 36 episodes this year, and we got a chance to cover a coach in his first year and a team that was knocking on the door of the conference championship. What stood out to you this season, Aaron?
From our shows,
Yeah, from our shows.
all the times I owned Newman.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna be knocking on your door tomorrow, man.
All right, yeah.
I'm coming
Yeah,
for you.
Anthony, how about you, my friend?
He's rattled. He wasn't ready for that. He's rattled. Look at him.
He ain't
No,
ready.
I just like the way, to be honest, and I just sit there. I was sitting there talking bad about the transfer portal, but and all that developing players. But it was fun watching a young quarterback, Bo Nix, come into this program, and we watched him play, and he's still developing, and he's becoming that leader, becoming the guy for the Oregon program to lead this team to the promised land, and that was fun to watch over the past season.
I think
look at this season.
I was going to give you a real one. I think the how we handled the bowl situation where we were like, this bowl game matters. And I think that's important to keep that out there because I think the fans who watch our show believe the bowl game matters. Some of these younger fans who probably don't care about us, they don't think it matters because they're bandwagon fans. They don't care. They're not relevant. And those things matter. And I think we handled all that very well. That's a perspective to why these things are important.
Oh, totally. And you get a great all-time memory of the Ducks converting on 4th and goal, and a moment that Nix is not going to forget, that Code is not going to forget either. And so you look at this next season, Nix coming back, weapons on offense, little questions on defense. What's your prediction, Aaron? Because we will come revisit this to see how well we can predict the future here. But the schedule obviously is not the easiest. You go on the road to Utah and Washington. You have SC at home. But what do you think this team does next year? If you got to think about what happens in the regular season.
So they were 9-3 regular season last year. They very easily could have won 2 of their losses, the Washington game and the Oregon State game. But those things happen. When you play close games, you can lose them. That's the whole point of when you play top-notch competition. I have 5 losable games right now. And again, that doesn't mean they're going to lose them. It just means I consider them losable. That means I'm basically giving them 7 to start. So my instinct on this is that because one of the losable games is not Georgia-esque, it's Texas Tech, that I'm leaning towards 10-2, but I really want to see the defense first. So I'm going to go floor 9-3 as long as they don't have any major injuries. And that if the defense comes around, I think they can get 10-2. And if it really blossoms, I think they got a shot at 11-1 because the offense is going to be money.
Yeah, Anthony.
Yeah, I agree with Jordan, not Aaron. I never agree with Aaron. But
anyway, it could be 11-1. You don't agree with that?
No, I do. No, I do. Boy, I can't wait till we meet up in person. Boy. This is gonna be fun. This is gonna be fun, boy.
I saw you at Nike. You didn't do nothing.
This is gonna be real fun. But anyway, I want to see. Well, I believe Oregon can win 10 games. I really do.
Yeah.
In the game that they lost last year against Oregon State. Come on, you can't do that. They had a chance against Washington. They're going to lose some games. Their schedule is tough, but I think they're going to beat most of these teams. And here's why. Their offense can score points. That receiving group is just dynamic. The offensive line is steady. Bo Nix helps everyone on offense, and their running game is solid. Aaron, the defense is going to get better. They were pretty bad last year, so they have to go up. They're going to get better. If they get a little better, that's what I'm thinking. If they get a little better, they can reach 10 wins this season.
Yeah, I'm with you. It feels like 10-2 just because the conference is so stacked. And I think 10-2, any team is going to take that. It's going to be hard for any team in the conference to lose just one conference game as well, too. But we'll see how it goes. All right, that'll do it for this season of Talkin Ducks. Enjoy the offseason. We'll be back again in August to preview the upcoming year. Sad to have Joey Harrington back with us again, of course. But from all of us here, thank you for your support this season. We made it through 2. Can't wait for season 3 this fall. From all of us here, enjoy the summer. We'll catch you soon.